Outer Orange.
Welcome. Hello there. You clicked on this video because you wanted to know more about how to prepare for a tournament when it comes to TCGs and card games. Well, hello, I am here to help you with that. I am OuterOrange. Welcome to my video. Ignore my mess. Don't look at it. Look over here. Don't look over there. Don't look over. That's me deck plotting. Don't look over it. Don't look at it. Actually, you can look at the cat though. You can look at her. Yeah. See, oh, it's fine. I pointed at her. She looks straight at me. She knew. Look over here. Hi. This way. Come here. Basic routines and things to do when you enter a tournament, a regional type of event when it comes to card games. Recently, in the card game I play, which is Card by Vanguard, we are about to have the regionals coming back after not having regionals for 2 whole years. So we have a lot of new players that have never entered an in-person event that's like literally official, and it's like the whole 9 yards and everything. So I just wanted to make kind of like a brief video today to kind of just go over some simple things that you should probably do. So things you should be taking if you're traveling, if you're not, if it's nearby, far away, whatever the case is, things you should be taking. So that'll be the step number 1. Number 2 will be mentality, and number 3 will be physical plotting, like the deck that you're taking. So those are like the main 3 steps, and I'll probably be breaking down within there. Anyway, let's talk about things you should be taking to the event that you're going to. So first of all, if you're about to enter an event, if it's any event that you're about to enter and you're about to play cards and you're about to get competitive, I highly recommend the first thing you do before you even enter the event, before you even walk through those doors, do whatever it is, sleeve your deck. Let me show you what a fresh sleeve deck looks like and what a non-fresh sleeve deck looks like. A freshly sleeved deck, sleeved a couple days ago. You can see it's straight as heck. You see that? It's nice and straight. You can't tell a card apart. It just looks good. Not freshly sleeved deck. Let's do that comparison here real quick. Now this is not good. To really show that much merit here, it doesn't look that different, but as you can see, even this very sleeve right here, it's curving. This is really bad. You do not want to go to an event with curved sleeves like this. Your opponent can literally catch like what your sleeves are. Like they can catch like kind of like, oh, see that? See how curved they are? They can tell your deck apart. They can, first of all, they can tell like what, like I bet you if I were to put like a card in and if I were to shuffle it in here, I could probably find that exact card just based off of just how terribly sleeved this is, just because of these terrible sleeves, because these are they're all a little bit different. Like some are more curved than others. So you can tell. So you're giving pretty much your opponent more information that you don't want to give. The more generic and the more like straightforward your deck looks, the less shenanigans can happen. But also another reason is that it's actually more clunky. Like it doesn't like sleeve, it doesn't shuffle as well. You're kind of clumping your cards when you shuffle, and because of that, like you really just shouldn't be bringing like old sleeves to an event. Just don't do it. Refresh your sleeves. Another thing you should bring on top of fresh sleeves is you should bring backup fresh sleeves. So I have been to a regionals. My first ever regionals I went to, I used Ultra Pro sleeves, and guess what? One of my sleeves did break right then and there, and it was very stressful. It's one of those things that happened and I was stressing out about it, and then it's one of those things that kept me out of my game. Like I wasn't focusing on the game as much. Still won the match, by the way, and it was right before we actually started that the sleeve broke, so it was no big deal. I switched out with my starter. Bring extra sleeves. You don't really have to worry about the character art sleeve, the smaller sleeve, but your outer sleeve, the one that will potentially break, you should definitely bring a couple extras. You know, put them in your deck box, whatever. I don't know what the best approach is, but just bring something in case something happens. You have the backup, because you do not want to be in that situation where your sleeve breaks and then you can get DQ'd for it or whatever, because you now have 49 cards that are sleeved and not 50. So just be very mindful, and that's actually another reason why you don't want to bring old sleeves. Old sleeves break a lot easier, whereas if you bring something like, if you bring fresh sleeves, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend that you do stuff like that, because it will just save you, it'll save your self stress. And oh my gosh, my cat is about to touch my cards. I'm about to lose it. Kitty! Next thing you want to bring, probably the day of, the day before, whatever, is food. Some kind of food. Either plan something beforehand or bring snacks during it. And the reason being is that you're going to be playing all day long. You're going to be playing cards all day long. And it's about 8 hours. It sounds not terrible on paper. It's like, oh, 8 rounds, 9 rounds, whatever. However many rounds it is. It doesn't sound bad until you realize that it's actually very inducing, very long. There's a lot of mental stress that gets along with this. There's the in-betweens, just knowing like how well you're doing. There's a lot lot of mental stress on it, and eating food does help. So some people I know can't eat food or whatever, you know, some people operate differently. I recommend at least a snack, you know, just something small, you know, maybe like just nuts or just maybe a bar, or just something to kind of keep your body moving and keep your brain going. But anyway, so that's that. I do recommend bringing like not too much with you to these events. You never know. You don't want to keep looking after your stuff, trying to find it all. You know, bring your map, bring your deck box, bring your sleeves, bring whatever else you need that will help you for your deck. I would recommend not bringing anything else. Like, you can battle other people, maybe have like a backpack with like an extra deck in it or something, but don't go too far. Don't go like psychotic like at locals where you could bring like a bunch of stuff, not really worry about your stuff like something happening to it. In this case, these places are usually not like, there's gonna be a lot of people there depending on where it's gonna be, where you're gonna be. But the last time I went to one, there was like 500 people there, and that's just the participants alone. That's not including the vendors and the people that are running it, the judges, the staffing, everything combined. It was just a lot of people. There's a lot going on. There's some empty tables, there were some full tables and all this stuff. You don't want to just leave your stuff flying around, so try to be very cautious with like what you're bringing and how much you're bringing of stuff. And then last but not least, just, you know, be comfortable. Just be comfortable, you know, like you dress comfortably, feel like you're in your skin. You know, you want to dress in a way where you feel confident in what you're wearing. And the reason why I say this is because if you're confident in yourself, then you'll be confident in your matches. So just in general, be comfortable, be confident, you know, just show success. And this actually kind of lead into mentality. I don't think I have anything else that you can bring. Or I would say like with the food thing, bring water too. Water's pretty important. Water hydration is just really good. So just definitely bring some hydration. You want to bring a really positive mentality when you go into these things. It's kind of hard sometimes. I totally understand, but you really need to bring your A game when it comes to this stuff. You really need to tell yourself like, I'm gonna do well today. I'm gonna do well today. Positivity goes a long way. If you're constantly bashing yourself and saying like, oh, I should have done this like that, or should have done like that. Trust me, I do it too. I do it all the time. Like every single time I finish a game, I analyze it instantly, and I'm like, oh man, if I had guarded this way, or if I had done that, I would have won this, or if I had just done this, or if I had made this one different micro thought, it would have been done well. But at the end of the day, the game has already happened, already over. Your mentality has to switch over to next game. Like, you have to switch over. If you bring your mentality for one of your rounds into the next round, and it's a bad mentality, chances are you're going to keep declining from that point on. So it's just not a good idea. It is you have to find kind of like a center with yourself. Just treat each game as its own and just keep going. And that is the best advice I could probably give you when it comes to this stuff. I don't know why I have a random Riviera starter just floating around, but I do. But anyway, so regardless, so you really want to make sure that you bring up like a solid mental state. You could take some time. I would recommend even practicing it at locals, like while you still can. If I don't know, some people have the Spring Fest literally this weekend. Some people have it a couple in weeks. Doesn't really matter. This can go out to anyone, as I mentioned earlier. This isn't really specific to Card Play Vanguard. This could be Yu-Gi-Oh! This could be Magic the Gathering, could be Shadowverse, it could be Zero, could be whatever you want it to be. Pokemon, you name it. You know, Digimon, all that stuff. So just really think to yourself, why are you here? You can be here for multiple reasons. Like, you could be going to an event just to go to an event. It doesn't necessarily have to be an event where like you're trying to win or whatever. And you're just and if it's something else, maybe you're just going to the event just to get used to going to these kind of events. In which case, you should still bring a good mentality, saying that you're going to do your best. You may like you want to do your best regardless, right? Because you want to see the results of who you are as a player. So if that's the case, then you should still be positive. Even if it doesn't end well, you could still look back on it. There is no such thing as wasted time when it comes to knowledge. Any time, like I remember a professor once told me that like some people are like, oh, this class is a waste of time or whatever. It really isn't. You are still gaining some kind of information, whether it's related to the subject or related to the people you see. You are always learning something. So when you go to these kind of events, whether you're going to compete or you're going to play more casually or you're going to just play, you will learn something out of it, whether you even realize it or not. Never consider your efforts wasteless, even in situations where it may be negative, or even if you're in a bad situation where you lost a lot or whatever. It is still something that you can reflect on. You can look back on it. Stay positive, stay awesome. You got this. You got this. You got this. Whatever it is that your goal is in life, you got this. See, that's all I can say, because you can take this exact aesthetic into your actual personal life. Whatever you're doing in your personal life, you can compare card games to it very easily. So I believe in you. Talk about decks. If you're going into this event kind of on a more competitive spectrum, you should know your deck. You should know your deck. If you are going to enter a big event, you should not be bringing, I mean, you can, but you should not be bringing a deck that you have no idea how it functions. You should know every single card that's in your deck. There is no reason not to, because the more you know about your deck, the less you're focused on what you're doing doing, and the more you're focused on what your opponent is doing, which is really important, because what your opponent does, they could be misplaying, they could be doing a lot of stuff, and if you don't catch that, you are actually denying yourself. There's been times where I've been in these situations, my opponent literally played cards incorrectly, and I lost because of it, and then I felt bad about it because I was distracted doing whatever it is that I was doing. You should be focused on your opponent more than you should be focused on yourself. So that is one of the things. So the first way to do that is to just know your deck. You might as well take a crappier deck, like a deck that's not successful, but at least you know how to play it, than take a newer deck and then, you know, try and win with it. Now, there is a kind of silver lining with this. There are some decks that you can get away with making more mistakes just because the decks are stronger, whereas if you're playing something on your own, you'll make less mistakes, but because the deck isn't as good, you may not be playing, I might not be performing. So that is kind of a thing, and this is a really big key factor in League of Legends, a thing about, like, when it comes to competition, what champion to bring. You can bring the champion you're best at, that's like a C tier champion, or you could bring the champion that's like the newest, best broken thing right now. It's just so powerful, it's strong, but you have no idea how to play it. Even though the champion's really good, if you can't master it, it's actually really hard to actually win with the champion. Whereas if you play something that you're more familiar with, you'll actually have a higher chance of winning with it just because you're more familiar with it, even if the ceiling of the actual champion is lower. Decks can apply in a similar way. If you're going to play a really super complicated deck, but it's really good, but it involves every part of your brain power to get it right, maybe you might as well play a deck that you know a little bit more. Maybe the ceiling isn't as crazy, but you'll at least know how to play it, and you'll probably get more success with it because you'll be making less mistakes. Because making mistakes is part of the game, and you want to avoid making them as much as possible, though it is human to make mistakes, but you want to make sure that you have a proficient, like, kind of like approach to things. So while you know your deck, you should really know your opponent's deck too. Now, of course, you can't know your opponent's deck to the T, unless, you know, it's like open deck list maybe. Even if it is open deck list, you may not know what the full deck does, but you should really analyze and just see what's happening every single step of the way. There are so many things that go off, abilities, skills, spells, orders, whatever it is. There are so many things that happen, so many little interactions that happen literally from the minute you shuffle and get your mulligan to the end of the game. You should know what in the world your opponent's doing. And if you don't know, ask questions. Like, it's okay to call a judge and ask a question if you're unsure about something. Don't always believe what your opponent says. What they say may not always be true. They might have even misread their own card, not even realizing they misread their own card. They might have read the card saying that, but it's actually this, and that could be two different skills. So you just never know. Always know what your opponent's doing, ask questions, and don't be scared to call judges or whatever. The worst kind of loss you can get is the kind of loss you could have prevented. Just don't do that to yourself. It's just not worth it. Even when things are looking awful, don't give up. Just don't give up. I have seen so many people, especially in tournaments, that just give up. It's happened. People have done it to me, and I'm just like, the game just started. Are you sure you want to just, like, I'll ask people and be like, are you sure you want to stop? And they just give up. And I'm like, man, I'm over here holding like the worst hand in my life. Like, they probably could have won, honestly. So you just never know what your opponent is holding or what they're doing or what's going on. It may seem like your situation is awful. Very well may be that your opponent is in just as an awful situation as you, and you just don't know. Now, it's possible that they might have the best hand possible and you might have the worst hand possible, but you should always be fighting and trying to find a way out. Play to your outs. It's very important. Like, yes, there's luck involved in a lot of games and all this stuff, but it doesn't mean that you can't have luck either. There's a lot of ways to handle a lot of this stuff, and I hope that maybe something I said today will help make you feel better about yourself and better as a card fighter or a TCG player of any kind, or maybe even in real life, but maybe even outside of card games. Maybe something I said today can spark some kind of ways of positivity for you, because like negativity is nice and all, and sometimes you have to, you know, slap yourself in the face and face facts. That's cool and all, but it doesn't mean that you can't stay positive with what you're doing every day of the week. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna end it here. I'll see you guys wherever we might be soon. You know, I'm traveling, so I'll see you guys in the travels and all that fun stuff. Thank you for everything. I'll be taking pictures. If you want to be in the pictures or whatever, I'll of course ask for consent, but you can definitely be a part of those. I want to make a lot of memories. Peace out. Das vidanya. Hope this helps you and your adventures and all that stuff. I'm gonna go now. Bye.